Good evening and welcome to the 19th Annual Six Bridges Book Festival. My name is Ginger Young and I'm so glad that you have joined us tonight for this session featuring Xochitl Gonzalez and Stewart Onan. Thanks to a grant from the Wingate Foundation, we are excited to offer tonight's session in Spanish, courtesy of our interpreter, Stephen Mines. Stephen will now explain how you can listen to tonight's program in Spanish.
En unos minutos vamos a activar la interpretación simultánea al español y la manera de escuchar esta sesión en español será en traducción simultánea, será de escoger ya sea en su teléfono celular, un teléfono inteligente, los tres puntitos donde dice más interpretación, o si su teléfono está en inglés va a decir interpretation, escogen español o Spanish si su teléfono está en inglés. On your laptop, it may be read as interpretation. You choose Spanish. En su teléfono celular, en su laptop, en su computadora, verán un icono del mundo al fondo de la pantalla, en la parte baja, y escogerán interpretación y español allí. If you're on a laptop, you would find the icon at the bottom of your screen, choose interpretation, and select Spanish to hear simultaneous interpretation of both the moderator's questions, the panelists' answers, all in Spanish. Thank you. Gracias.
All right, gracias, Steve. Okay, before we get started, a few more housekeeping notes. We will be using,
we do need to start. We need to start.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. This is a new feature for some of us, so we are learning how to make this work, but we are excited to offer this session in Spanish. So thank you for bearing with us as we work this out. A few other announcements. We'll be using the chat feature tonight to communicate. So this is where you can post any questions that you would like me to ask the authors. And I'm sorry, my earbuds keep falling out. I will try to get those to stay in as we keep going. I will ask the questions to the authors. If you have the questions, please at any point post them in the chat. I will be watching it. If I don't get to it in a timely manner, post it again, put it in all caps and say, Ginger, look at this, and we'll get your question. And this is also the place to troubleshoot with Felicia Richards, our Zoom squad support. And so she will be watching that too and jumping in as needed to help with that. So please use the chat feature to communicate. I work at Wordsworth Bookstore. Wordsworth is the official bookseller for the Six Bridges Book Festival event. And if you would like to purchase Stewart's and Xochitl's books, you can do that in a couple of ways. On the Six Bridges website, yay! There's a link at the top. It'll say shop for shirts and books, and you can link to the store website. Or you can come see us if you're in the Little Rock area at the store. We are located in the Heights, just off of North University between Cantrell and Kavanaugh. And me or one of the other booksellers would love to help you get these books. Because Stewart and Xochitl did not get to come here to sign the books, they have provided signed book plates. So if you purchase a book, you can get a signed book plate to put in it to commemorate this. Now that we've handled the housekeeping, let's get to the good stuff. It's my pleasure to introduce our authors tonight. And I'm going to get my glasses so I do this right. Thanks. Xochitl Gonzalez is the New York Times bestselling author of Olga Dies Dreaming. It was named a most anticipated book of 2022 by Time, Kirkus, Bustle, thank you, Stewart, and more. Olga Dies Dreaming was a Barnes & Noble Discover pick, an Indies Introduce pick, and Amazon's featured debut of the month. Gonzalez received her MFA from the Iowa Writers Workshop, where she was an Iowa Arts Fellow and a Missioner Copernicus Fellow for Fiction. Her work has been published on The Cut and in Vogue, Allure, Elle Decor, and elsewhere. Her weekly newsletter on the Atlantic's website, Brooklyn Everywhere, explores gentrification of people and places. She is a proud public school graduate and lives in her hometown of Brooklyn with her dog. Xochitl, welcome. We're so glad to have you here with us tonight.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I'm so happy to be here. And I am going to want to do all my events with Stewart because he's such a good hype man.
Oh my gosh, I know. He is, we all need a Stewart Onan in our lives. Speaking of Stewart Onan is the author of 20 books, including the novels Snow Angels, A Prayer for the Dying, The Night Country, Last Night at the Lobster, and Emily Alone, and our featured novel tonight, Ocean State. He lives in Pittsburgh, where he was born and raised. So welcome, Stewart. We're so glad to have you with us tonight.
Thank you, Ginger. Thanks for doing the moderation. I know you put a lot of work into it, a lot of work into it. I saw your list of questions is like, oh my God, it's like, a nightmare essay test from English Lit or something. But I'll try.
Well, I am an over preparer. So I just wanted to make sure, not that I doubted we would have things to talk about, but I was also really excited about the books and had a lot of thoughts, as you saw. But we're going to start by, I have had the great joy to read both of these books, but I know some of you that are with us tonight have not. And I want you to get a little taste of what we're going to be talking about. So to do that, we're going to let the authors give us a short reading. We're going to start with Xochitl. Again, her book is called Olga Dies Dreaming.
Okay, yes.
This is going to make me crazy. Olga, if you'll tell us a little bit about the book before you read, please.
Yes. Also, I just want to say that Last Night at the Lobster is one of the best books that I've ever read, actually.
Oh, thank you.
I just needed, and Ocean State's also wonderful, but like Last Night at the Lobster just is so special. And I just needed to take two seconds to say how special it is. So yes. Okay. Thanks. So Olga Dies Dreaming has its roots in some biography, but then is purely a work of fiction in that I was once a wedding planner, and it is centered around a middle-aged wedding planner from Brooklyn, as am I, and her brother, Prieto. She's a wedding planner of the 1%, and he is a congressman who is got a heart of gold, but has found himself in a slightly compromised position. And the entire book takes place in 2017 around Hurricane Maria, which was one of the most devastating hurricanes in Puerto Rican history. And they are a Nuyorican family, which is sort of the diasporic experience of the Puerto Rican people in New York. And it starts out as a little bit of a Trojan horse, and you think it's kind of a comedy and a little bit of a rom-com, and then it ends up being probably just a bit more deep than that. And there's it's about self-love, but I'm going to start at the beginning. I think I just was like, well, what's something brief I can read in the beginning? And, you come for the napkins and you stay for all the other good stuff. So this is the opening bit. The telltale sign that you are at the wedding of a rich person is the napkins. At the not rich person's wedding, should a waiter spill water or wine or a mixed drink of well liquor onto the napkin-covered lap of a guest, the beverage would bead up and roll off the cheap square of commercially laundered polybrand fabric down the guest's leg, eventually pooling on the hideous, overly busy patterned carpet designed and chosen specifically to mask these such stains. At the rich person's wedding, however, the napkins are made of a European linen fine enough for a Tom Wolfe suit, hand-pressed into smooth order and trimmed with a gracious hemstitch border. Should the waiter spill any of the luxury bottled water, vintage wine, or custom crafted cocktails designed by a mixologist for the occasion, the napkin would dutifully absorb any moisture before the incident can irritate a couture-clad guest. Of course, at the rich person's wedding, the waitstaff don't spill things. They have been separated and elevated from their more slovenly, less coordinated brethren in a natural selection process of the service industry that judges on appearance, gait, and the inherent knowledge of which side to serve from and which to clear. The rich person's wedding also never features hideous carpet, not because the venue or locale may not have had one, but because they had the money to cover it over. And not necessarily just with another nicer, more tasteful carpet, but with hardwood flooring, black and white Havana-inspired tiles, or even actual natural grass. These, though, were the more obvious markers of wealth at a milestone life celebration for the rich person. And while Olga Isabel Acevedo's job required her to worry about all of these elements and more, the present moment found her primarily concerned with the napkins, and mainly how she could steal them when the party was over.
Nice.
Thank you.
Lovely.
I love how you described it, that it does start as one thing. It's a bit of a tease because you think it's one thing and then it turns into something else. And we're going to dig into that in a moment. So thank you so much. All right, Stewart, tell us about Ocean State.
Ocean State is a novel of a teenage love triangle gone wrong that ends up in murder. And it's based on a real life murder in New Milford, Connecticut, back in 1997. And for years, I tried to get into the story and attack it in some way, and I just couldn't crack it. I couldn't break the nut. And eventually I figured out why. And I think you'll hear it in this very beginning part. It's from the very beginning. It's a section called In the House by the Line and Twine. When I was in 8th grade, my sister helped kill another girl. She was in love, my mother said, like it was an excuse. She didn't know what she was doing. I had never been in love then, not really, so I didn't know what my mother meant, but I do now.
All right. And that is the voice of, the voice of younger sister Marie, who is our, well, one of the narrators. So you both, I want to start with talking about structure of the books, just because it's something I've realized as a reader, there are so many ways to tell a story, and you both come at this from different ways. I try really hard to have no spoilers when we do these kinds of events, so I'm going to be really careful not to let things slip. But Stewart, you start by telling us, my sister killed another girl.
Helped
kill another girl.
Which yes. I think is a wonderful sort of, linking verb. Helped and kill. Just perfect little clash there. Helped kill. And what's her culpability? What did she really do? How does our narrator feel about it? And that whole question of love and what love is also those are the narrative promises right in that very first paragraph there, that I'm going to talk about not just murder, but what brings us to murder, and how love changes into murder, or love changes into hate, which is one of my favorite topics when I'm writing in a big melodramatic mode. So I knew I wanted a first person to be a little warmer, to make it more intimate. I needed an innocent person to start talking about this. So it couldn't be the murderer. I didn't want it to be the murdered girl right at that point. At first, I thought I was going to be the mother of the murdered girl. I mean, for years, I tried to get into her mind and figure out how it happened. Then it became a small town book, and how all the secrets in the small town are right there on the surface. And everybody knows, but no one says. And it just, over the years, I said, it's got to be the sister of someone involved in the murder. And I found her, and then I said, it's a relationship between the two sisters. And then it turned into this weird thing, the Shirley Jackson thing. We've Always Lived in the Castle is such a marvelous book about guilt and complicity and small town New England. And I thought, oh, that's a perfect kind of thing. And then I thought about Mary Cat, who's the first person narrator, and a very unreliable one of that book. And I thought about Marie and Mary Cat as being, in a weird way, simpatico. And so I just started off with Maria and sort of got it going. And at some point, I got to the end of her thing and said, okay, I got to deal with Angel, who's the sister. I have to deal with Birdie, who's the murdered girl. And I really have to deal with Carol, the mother of the two sisters, and what is her role in all this. And the fact that they're all trying to find some kind of love, and some kind of place in the world, and an identity in who they are. And it all kind of came together. And once I saw that, I said, okay, I'm going to be working in first, I'm going to be working in third, I'm going to be working in retrospective narrator. And I just started thinking of what other books have been written that way. And there's tons and tons of them. Joyce Carol Oates is a genius at this particular retrospective first person looking back at the terrible thing. So I busted out with my Joyce Carol Oates stuff and just started looking around and seeing how she dealt with it. And look at some other people as well. William Maxwell, John Edgar Wideman, great Pittsburgh writer. Always take inspiration from him. And again, tried to stay close to the characters and just follow them through and try to, to fulfill the promises that I make in that first paragraph. As Tim O'Brien says, and I think it's the things they carried, it wasn't a war story. It was a love story. In this case, it's not a murder story. It's a love story, and maybe about the lack of love. I know that's a lot. That's a lot.
No, that's great. I was really curious about your choice to start that, like that's where you start, why you started there, why you told us that from the beginning. And it's so interesting to hear because it shapes how you're reading the whole time. And the murder, obviously the murder happens, but it's 3/4 of the, maybe even further than that into the book before you get there. And you're in these characters' lives and in their relationships. And yeah, we're going to talk about moms later, because there are some problematic mothers in these books. So say that again, Stewart, that it's a retrospective first person.
It's a retrospective first person narrator. And within that, I nest a bunch of third persons that could actually be the mapping of the first person mind onto the story that happened so long ago, as she's trying to put it back together. And she's also an English teacher. She's so obsessed with To Kill a Mockingbird this is her Mockingbird. The problem is the person's not innocent.
Right.
And I kind of thought towards the end, is this Marie's book? Like, because you both use this, I called them intermezzos, where you have these, you're telling the story and then it's broken up by, in Stewart and yours, it's Marie reflecting back, and Xochitl and yours, it's letters from the mother that make you pause as a reader, reflect on what you've just read, but then also lead you into the next section that you're going to read. And I really thought at the end, because you ended with Marie as an adult, I wondered, I was like, is this Marie's, this whole thing, even though we're getting it from the other perspective, was that Marie's telling? Was this Marie's?
Well, I guess that's
telling the story.
That's the question Marie asked at the end. Why is this my story? Why am I stuck with this? How did I get stuck with this?
So it's because you could have told it so many ways, but how you doing it that way makes it a whole different journey. And you think about what happens because someone dies, and that's awful, and she's young, and you know her, you know that character, and so, but you also know the other people involved, and it's just it's not a feel-good book, but I couldn't stop reading. I wanted to know what, but I wanted to know what was going to happen, and I cared what was happening.
It's a beach book. There's a beach in it.
There is a beach, but it's off season, which is, we're going to talk about setting too. Xochitl, yours. So as you mentioned before, yours kind of Olga starts as one thing and then sort of changes as it goes, because you're peeling back and revealing things to us and jumping around in time. Like, it's not, the through line of the story is chronological, but you take us back both through Mommy's letters and just scenes taking place in different, and you helpfully give us the years on the chapters. Thank you for that. So we could place ourselves in time. What was your thought process behind that? Why did you choose to tell the story in that format, in that way?
Well, I didn't think anybody would read a book about Puerto Rican colonialism if I didn't do it that way. And so I just sort of was like, what's the sexiest packaging I can give this story about something totally otherwise? But actually, like, I kind of always think about the structure of the book more like a flower blooming, and like the lotus, like the little sort of like nexus of pollination is the first 3 chapters in the mom's first letter. And then you sort of get every single thematic thing that this is about. And then it just gets, the aperture of the lens just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I wanted to start with like, just, in some sense, it's literally metaphorical to how the circumstances, which is that this is a woman whose life is her own individual life, but that is impacted and informed by identities that have much larger implications. And without starting there and going in, I wanted to start in and kind of go out. And so you just kind of get to meet her very intimately. And she's not that likable or easy. She's not an easy character. And I think just when you might be like, I don't know that I can stay with this person, like she's a pill. And I wanted it to sort of also unravel the way that we get to know people, which is a little bit over time. And you're first charmed by somebody, and then you're like, oh, maybe you're a little difficult. And then you're like, why are you so hard about this thing? And then you find out something about their family or their history or whatever. And you're like, oh, like that frames things differently. And now suddenly 5 minutes ago, I thought you were a jerk. And now I'm actually sort of like amazed that you're as normal as you seem. And I wanted to kind of have this unravel that way, that you are meeting these characters, her and her brother, and through the mom's letters, you're sort of getting a bigger sense of how they're not adjusted, and yet they're relatively adjusted for what has kind of gone on in their lives. And that through no necessarily choice of their own, like, how much of us is nature and how much of us is nurture. And, and I really, originally it started out as just a book about a woman. And then I was like, she has to have a brother. Because, well, by the way, Stewart, I love the hovering mom in that first paragraph. It's like, and my mother said, like, it's like that it was because, like, I think we all have these hovering moms and these hovering, like, parental figures, and how do they inform who we are and who we're not? And I wanted to show how one sibling ends up being so different, but both are kind of programmed to who they are based on who their parents were, and what their parents' values were. And for that reason, their life isn't just this tiny thing where it's like, just who do I love? Who do I not love? What's my job? What's not my job? But it's like, who is this in relation to who I was supposed to have been, or who I was told I was supposed to be? And so I think it just kind of unravels in some ways the way that her own days are spent, where it's like she is having these individual experiences. And then when she has 5 minutes to process, she can't help but see herself as part of this bigger world. And and so that was sort of the way that the structure went. And the letters, I think the letters are kind of subconscious echoes. They are real letters, but they're subconscious echoes of the characters' points of view. And it's like you're getting them as they would filter into the characters' minds.
It's incredibly effective. And I love that. I did feel like I was getting to know them in a weird, that they were getting to know me and like trusting me as their reader. So it's like, okay, you've stuck with me this far. I'm going to open up a little more and tell you a little more about myself. And because both of them, both Olga and Prieto, are so, they've put on these, they have their public face, right? Like, this is who we are. I'm a politician, I'm wedding planner. This is who I am. And so we start with them that way. But like you said, we stick with them through their moments, and they both have them. He does too. Yeah, Olga is not the only challenging person. Yeah. But to stick with them, you're rewarded to see. And then again, no spoilers, but as you see what they've come through, and your perspective on them changes, but their perspectives on themselves change too. Like, we're on that journey with them. So I felt like they were my friends, and I was so happy for both of them by the end. I was like, good job. So it was nice to go on that journey.
What I liked especially about Olga is that she has so much going on. She literally has plates spinning, so many plates spinning in the air. And then to add to that, she has that private thought versus public speech. Yeah. That with anybody that she's working with or dealing with. And that's in her private life as well. So she's got so much that she's juggling there. In Prieto, I see more of the private thought versus public speech, because he is a public figure there. But he doesn't have quite the amazing amount of busyness and energy that surrounds Olga, especially in the opening sections. Yeah. And that seems to me very, very New York. Super New York energy. And a lot of it's ambition, a lot of it's personality, a lot of it's just having to make your way in this world filled with so many other people.
Yeah. I do think, like, it's funny because, like, one of the things that I admire about your writing, Stewart, is how you have such a comfortable open canvas with different kinds of people and different kinds of lives. And I like, because I just love so many things that you've done, but I had felt very mission driven. It's funny that you say that. Like, I felt very mission driven to paint a picture of what I saw as like a contemporary Latina and her life, and how busy I did think it was. Like, I know how, like, you have so many obligations, and I just hadn't seen her in literature in a bit, like, and I had, or maybe in a professional, like, with that New York ambition, like, like that, like, I know this woman, I am this woman, I know this woman, like, in so many versions. And so I needed her to be that busy, because, like, I needed it to be that chaotic, because that felt really real. And, like, that you are sort of like a little bit of a magician, right? Like, you're talking 2 or 3 languages in any one given time. And yeah. So I appreciate you saying that, because that was definitely a goal, like, that was a goal, to show the magic of the whole, the circus act of the whole thing.
Well, it also fits with her interior life as well, her emotional life. I mean, nothing is settled. Nothing is settled for Olga early on, and she's trying to figure it all out in the midst of just going. And I love that character who's got a lot going on, and she's in the family. She's, like a lot of women, the tentpole character. Everything is connected to her. She's the one carrying the load, right? Yeah. I mean, Mateo's great. Mateo's supportive, but he's not going to carry the whole load. There's just no way. But Olga can, Olga will.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Well, she stepped in, right, when it's symbolic. Abuelita left her the house. I mean, she is taking that role. Once their matriarch was gone, Olga has stepped into that place. And even though she's spinning and craziness, so many things going on, she's the stability for so many. Like, when you, in the middle of those family scenes where the aunts and the uncles and the cousins and everyone, is doing, she's holding it, holding it together. It's as a woman, I could relate to that, even though I'm not a Latina woman in New York, but just someone with a lot. We've got a lot going on.
We got a lot going on.
So when you, so for both of you, do you just, when you're choosing how, so you talked about why you chose these formats for these particular works. Is that how it goes? You think, like, what you're writing kind of guides you towards how you structure it? Just for a process question, or do you know the whole, do you know the whole story going in? And then I'm not making sense in my question.
No, you make
just sense. Because when you jump around, right? Like, is it like, I've got it all laid out and I know, or do you write it jumped around like that and reveal as you go? And either one, whoever has thoughts and can understand what I'm trying to ask.
I understand what you're asking, and I'm deferring to Stewart because he has written many, many, many more books than me. So I'm curious, like, what his process is.
Well, I mean, it's different every time, and you have to learn it every time. And sometimes you think good choices, and sometimes you make bad choices. And I mean, with books, I always tell my students, they're not all going to be good. There's no writer out there who's written nothing except good books.
That's right.
Except maybe Alice Munro, maybe.
That's actually, maybe. Alice Munro might be the exception.
Yeah, she might be the exception. But
I just finished. I'm almost finished with my second book, like, in terms of, like, it's like almost like accepted or whatever. Thanks. No. But I went through. It's funny that you're talking about this, because I knew what it was going to be. I had a bizarre experience where I actually wrote it. I wrote it as a script originally, because I just wanted I wanted to get the story out, and I was in the midst of doing Olga revisions, and I had this idea, and a friend dared me, and I was like, I want to know this story, and I couldn't, like, I was a script I can do quickly, and I can't write a book quickly. And then
smart, really smart.
It wasn't enough. So I say that I knew where it was going, and yet I knew the structure. I knew it was going to be very inspired by like the hours, like where it like rotates between seemingly somewhat unrelated things, and like it plays with time. I knew all these things, and then it just was not, it didn't have a life that it needed. It didn't have like some vibrancy that it was missing. And I realized there's a dead character in it, and it was all done in third person originally. And then a friend of mine told me it's like loosely based on a real life story, true crime, like loosely. And someone was like, the woman that died, her ghost lives behind the American Academy of Rome. And like a crazy person, I got on a plane and I emailed the people at the American Academy of Rome, and I was like, can I please go to your tree grove and talk to this ghost? And the first thing that the ghost said was, if you're going to use my story, you need to use my voice, and you need to do this in first person. And so I ended up going back and revising like a third of the book into first person. And then that saved the book, like that, like provided vitality of the book. So it's all to say, I think voice, I don't know. It's funny, Stewart, when you were reading, even just that beginning, and you're saying it took you a bit to get into this, you wanted to tell this story, and it took you a bit to figure out why. To me, everything begins and ends with voice. Like, if you don't know that voice, I don't know that there is. To me, I think that books that pull me, the things that keep me going writing, like, it's like there's strong voice. And it was like I found this dead woman's voice, and that has been the thing. Like, that just made, ironically, everything come alive. Like, right, like, and so I don't know. I think that for me, it's like sometimes it takes a little while. Sometimes it takes a while to find that voice, right? Like or that way in that gives you that. So yeah.
And voice will give you that intimacy. It will give you personality. Yeah. It will bring that blood, that humanness to what are basically scenes in a dramatic structure.
100%. It's the life of it. Like, it is literally the life. It is literally the life of it. And it's what makes it feel so intimate, I think. Yeah. And I think I've been just thinking a lot about what's the art form and why, and it's that you get so close to these people in a way that no other art form lets you get close to. And it's
and way inside.
Way inside. They're phantoms, right? And yet people feel so attached to these phantoms that look different in everybody's mind, but they have that same soul, and that's such a gorgeous thing.
We make that leap into other people who otherwise we'd never meet, and we care about what they care about. Yeah. And the author gives us enough room so we can share we can feel their feelings. You can't tell me how someone's feeling. I need to feel it. Yeah. And I can feel it through voice. I can feel it through, just the tone and the diction and the word choice. And I mean, those books that you were talking about, The Hours, which runs back to Mrs. Dalloway. I mean, To the Lighthouse is one of those books that I fall back into again and again and again, and feel so much for these characters who are not, they're not great, prominent, leading these gigantic lives. It's these quiet, this intimacy.
Yes.
And that's what I come to fiction for, the intimacy. It's what movies can't do. It's what, drama sometimes tries to do it, and sometimes can succeed because of just the showiness of it. But yeah, fiction, that's why I'm there. That's why I love fiction. That's why this room is just filled with, with people and with scenes I can always return to, and they're there. And I can get close.
And they're different to you every time. And
that's
cool.
The amount of attention that I can give to the book. I mean, sometimes we find ourselves just blowing through stuff, but to sit there and just savor, a great book and take your time with it and really inhabit it. That's the best, I think. Or to find a new book that you suddenly love and are crazy about. Barbara Pym, I'm reading a lot of Barbara Pym lately, and I'd never read her before. And I'm just her point of view, the way she sees the world, how she cares about these characters that it seems to me no one else has ever seen or has overlooked, at least when she was writing about them. Yeah, that's the best.
Yes, and I only get to be on the receiving end of it. You guys get to create. You get to create it for us as readers, and thank you for putting into words like thoughts I've had of like why do I love to read, and why is this? Why do I do this? Why do I work at a bookstore? Why do I love books? And that's why, because you are inhabiting occasionally sometimes another world, but just getting to know people in a way like just so intimately and deeply. I don't need to rehash what you've just said, but it's lovely, and I'm filing it away for when I need to answer these questions about why books, why reading, why do we do this? That is why, for sure. You talked about voice, and that is, both of you have such strong that your characters have such strong voices, and both in their speaking and then in their narrating too. So which is different, because particularly again with Olga and Prieto, because they change. They are not who they show the world, and then who they are with each other or internally are really different. And so just, I don't know that there's more to cover on that, because unless you guys think more, but just that I feel like both of your voices are so strong. And Stewart, as someone who used to be a teenage girl and is the mother of a teenage girl, you nailed it. Like, it's this is a dude is writing, like, it just, you got it. You got that voice. And then as a mother, do you find it challenging? I guess this is a silly question, challenging to write women or like write like a teenage girl character, or do you just go there? That's Angel and that's Marie and that's so.
Yeah, I think of them as very specific people, rather than this is a teenage girl, or this person is 18 years old and white and goes to this high school. And the more time you spend with them, the more you learn about them. And I tend to do a lot of notebooking, where and this is part of the most fun part of the job, is just daydreaming. Daydreaming about these people, and what they like, and who the people are that are closest to them, and what's foremost on their minds as they're going through the day, and just every little thing about their lives. And you have so much time to do that. I mean, you have years to hang out with these people and learn about them, and make guesses about them. Those guesses could be wrong, and those guesses will change. And those guesses you hope you make better guesses tomorrow on them as the writing process and draft process goes through, and what fits and what doesn't, and who the person actually is. What I love, I want to say about Prieto, is that he's not the person that he thinks he is.
No.
That to me is just an amazing revelation. I think that we feel it as readers, and I think later in the book he kind of understands it too, because he's confronted. I mean, I hope it's not a spoiler. He's confronted with a lot of his choices that he's made, and to understand you're not the person that you think you are. That, again, that's one thing that fiction can bring to us, and make us even see our own lives and question, are we the people that we think we are? Because very, very few of us are.
It's funny that you said that, because I think that I wanted to sort of also show this sort of universal experience of feeling pressure to be somebody that other people think you're meant to be. And that is also, sorry, just to make this a love story about novels, but like the beauty of the novel is that you can exercise all these ghosts in very particular scenarios that people feel really like like attached to, like, you know, like it's like resentments and like things, like it could be related to a murder, and it's like but it's like it unleashes all of these like familial things. Like at their base, we're all creatures that belong to other humans that birthed us, that are parts of family units, that have these like weird, you know, like, and it's like we just create very peculiar circumstances with which to express those, but what makes them universal, and I think why people like feel for Prieto or get frustrated by Prieto is because they don't understand, they either get or don't get why he doesn't have more courage, you know, like, and it's like, and I think I don't know, I was going to ask if Stewart had ever taken any acting classes, because like I had taken a lot of acting in high school, and one of the first things that they teach you is like no villain wakes up thinking they're a villain. And I remember that, and it stayed with me for all these years, because I went to a very theater heavy high school. And I think that when I'm writing any character, because they all should sort of be Rorschach tests, like to some extent, like you should completely get why somebody is like on Goodreads, like, I hated this character, and then somebody else is like, this is my favorite character. Like in an ideal world, you did your job really well, actually, because like what it's showing is a mirror to that individual reader's experience in life, not just with your book, but like in life, like whatever they brought to the table, like, right. And so and that is this really cool thing. It's just like through hyper specificity of our imaginations, like you come up with these situations where somebody is, to some people is like a tragic figure, to other people he's a figure that needs sympathy, and to other people he's infuriating, you know, like, and it's like,
and that means that you're touching the reader, you're touching that reader's own life, and they're bringing their own feelings and their own memories into the book and putting them together with your words on the page, so that it's more than just what you've written. That's the reader you want. That's the reader that's bringing themselves to the book and giving themselves to the book.
That's right.
And that's ideal.
It's a funny thing because sorry, and I'm so like Ginger, I'm
no, you two are doing exactly what I want you to do.
I think what's so interesting, and one of the only things, because I did my MFA late in life, like I didn't get my MFA until I went to start my MFA at 42, and I don't know. I think like what we really need to be hunting for, I loved it. Like, I loved so much of my experience, but I think what we're really trying to do, and we have to never forget that there's craft around writing, but there's an art around it. And art is about truth and like the unvarnished truth of who people are. And to your point, that time spent daydreaming, Stewart, of like, who are these people? Like what, like the guesses, and being like, no, that isn't exactly right. Or that is, sometimes we have to write so much stuff to throw away to just realize that that's not who that person is. Like, and it's like, okay, that's not right. But it's hunting for truth, right? Like you've created a circumstance and a person, and then you're hunting for what the truth would be for them. And it's because it's true that it hurts people and it touches people. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's all feeling.
Yeah.
It's all feeling, really. And John Weidman says that drama is the feelings we have for the people closest to us. That's what drama is. It's the feelings that we have. And that just makes absolute sense, because especially in Olga, it's the potential with all these people who they can approach each other, but they can't say what they really feel to each other. And when they do, the world changes.
Yes.
And that's true in our lives too, right? Think of the people that are closest to you that you can't say the absolute truth, the deepest truth inside you, because it would blow things up. It would destroy things.
That's right.
Would change the world.
Oh my God. I went to go and see, so this is a real digression, but it's relevant. I went to go and see the new production of Death of a Salesman. And it's literally just about this idea of like, what do we not say, and how is it hurting us and killing us and pulling us apart and driving us mad?
Is that Wendell Pierce?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
American national treasure, Wendell Pierce.
He must be so good.
Like he's amazing, but like it's all literally just this idea of like, what do we lose when we're being polite? Like when we're being like doing the right thing. And I think what should be doing in the novel is forcing circumstances where nobody is being polite. And then it makes everybody else question, what am I losing what am I not being honest about in its ideal form, right? Like, and what am I not being honest about? What am I not being true about? And I don't know. I think this has been, for me, like the experience, it's been a short time, but like the experience of having this book in the world and hearing from people about how it's like brought up family conversations and like brought up like family book clubs, like where they're like, I'm going to talk about these things that we don't talk about here. And that has been really beautiful, I have to say. That's the aftermath, the ripple effect, I guess, like the after of the writing, but the ripple of it being in the world, which is kind of.
Well, in a funny way, I mean, reading it in a book or seeing it in a movie or seeing it on stage, it's kind of a safe space.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
When in fact it's a fucking Shark Tank.
Yeah.
It is a Shark Tank.
The Shark
right.
Tank.
Real art involves very dangerous things that, when you touch them, they will change the way that you see, again, even the people closest to you. Yeah. And that's when a book, a film, a song, whatever can move you. Right. And that's what I'm looking for when I open up. I want to be moved. I want to be changed. I want to give everything I have and have the author give everything that they have and to see the world in a new way. And it's so rare that happens.
I think that's so right. And I think it takes even more raw guttural honesty now because people's brains are so fractured by the times, and so pulled in 900 directions. And we are literally, I don't know, I was writing about this week for the Atlantic. I was like, I was a young adult in New York in 9/11, and it was like a before and after moment. And I was like, and actually the before and after moment of my time is when Donald Trump declared his presidency. And however, it doesn't matter how you feel, it's just that it changed everything. Right. It just changed everything. And our world is so much more chaotic now, and just so much more split and splintered. To read a book and have it touch you, I think when it happens, it's such solace. Right. It's such solace. It's literally solace and comfort and tactile. I still like to read physical books. There's something so, I don't know. And it's there's this idea that I am not alone that comes. And I think that to me in contemporary society is the real beauty of it, because you're I'm not alone. I don't know. It's it's really, and then again, to go back to it, it's like wild things happen in your book, wild things happen in my book. And yet they feel very universal. These people feel so real. And I think that is the big, I don't know, the saving grace of it. It's both, as we're living through wild times, you're I'm going to survive this, and I'm going to come to something out of it at the end. Yeah.
And that feeling that we all have when we read something where someone understands. Yeah. Someone sees, someone witnesses, someone testifies, someone knows.
Yes.
So I'm not crazy.
Yes.
I'm not completely crazy.
That's right. I'm not crazy. And I'm not crazy.
I'm not alone.
And I'm not alone.
Yeah. You need to know that more now than ever.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just going to throw this in because I don't want our audience to forget that you can ask us questions. I've got my chat window open. If I'm missing something, I'm so sorry, but please, while we have this opportunity and we have Stewart and Xochitl with us, if you have something you want to ask them, please put that in the chat window and we'll make sure that they hear it. This is such a treat for me. I think I've expressed this to you guys in our email correspondence, just because I do love books and I love reading. And so to be with other people who feel the same way, it's we just met, but you're my people, you're my friends. I feel like I'm among someone who gets it, who understands. I did want to talk, I said we were going to talk about moms. And so we have a little bit of time left. So I would like to come back around to those moms, because they are both such powerful figures in both stories, even though they're not the most present. I mean, mommy is not, she's
gone.
gone. She left
off stage. She's off stage.
Like they were,
yeah.
Olga was 13 when she left, but yet you talked about when Stewart read his opening chapter, the hovering mother. She is the hovering presence. You know, she's physically not there, but she is there. And the effect that she has had on these children. And Stewart, and here's Carol the same way. Carol's sort of there. I mean, she's got her own thing going on.
I try to write about people who are in an impossible position.
Yeah.
An utterly impossible position. I see that again and again in the books. That's one of the themes that runs through them. And Carol is in an impossible position. I mean, she does not have the means to do what she's doing. She's giving everything she has at work to be a caregiver. She comes home. Her relationship with Angel is difficult and damaged. Marie seems to be a little bit lost, kind of latchkey kid, and very insular. But in the end, I think with the help a little bit of her new boyfriend, she carries on. She finds a way to step up for her daughter, for Angel, later in the book, I think, and to try to do what she really couldn't do before, which is to defend and protect her.
Yeah.
But it's impossible.
Tragic that it took it took Angel being arrested for.
But what could she have done different? Maybe not drank as much, which was an illness that, she never had. What's the word for it? She never got it taken care of, even though she saw it in her husband, her ex-husband,
and her mother,
and her mother, and in the society that she was in, she didn't have another way of being there.
I thought about Maya Angelou talks about her mother. Have you ever seen the documentary about her, Stewart?
No.
And she says, my mother wasn't a good mother to little girls. She was an amazing mother to teenage girls. And like this idea that in different phases, a mother can rise to an occasion. And that's what I thought, that's what that made me think of, is I don't know, it's not a universal. I don't think mothering's a universal thing, that you're always great at it and that your motivation's always great and that you know how to do it. Sometimes you need a person. I watched 13 again last night. Have you ever seen that movie with Holly Hunter?
Yes.
And I saw it with such different eyes. I don't think I'd seen it in 10 or 11 years, 10 or I don't know. When it first came out, I saw it and it was I saw it with such different eyes, where I was this relationship, she needs this relationship with this person, her romantic partner, for strength, right? You just see, I don't know. It's just to say, I think motherhood is complex. And to that point about being honest, the more that we show moms like this, that are not that great, that are not that amazing, that step up on an occasion and full and need other things, not great and amazing the way that media at large tells us mothers are supposed to be, the more that it makes A, everybody else feel really normal, and B, because about their mothers, and B, it demystifies this thing that everyone feel so many women feel they're failing at all the time, which is not being great at something that so few people are. And I don't know, I think in my particular case with Olga and Blanca, her mom, I wanted to show somebody that, well, first of all, I think I wanted to talk about that tie that can never be broken. It's an unseverable, invisible thread between mother and daughter and mother and son, no matter what the relationship day to day is. And I think what I wanted more than anything was that when you read her letter, she's always a little bit wrong. She's always a lot of it wrong, but then a little bit right. And the way that only a mom can kind of get see the truth of a circumstance, and if it's biology or what, but I wanted her to be a bad mom, but an intriguing, compelling person in society? And what was that trade-off worth it? And we should all wonder. I don't know.
Well, you succeeded in that because, and I hate that we're not going to get to talk about Puerto Rico because, audience, as she said, this seems like one kind of book, and then I learned so much about Puerto Rican history, things I did not know. It's made me, I have not had time to do the deep dive I want to do into learning more about that. But Blanca, like, you have to respect, well, I did, you don't have to, but I respected like what she was doing and her cause. I hated that her children were sacrificed, or she sacrificed that relationship with her children to follow that cause. But I mean, it was a noble cause.
It's a noble cause. And I also think, like, I don't know, don't you think that that's really true? Like, there's so many people that do wonderful things in the world, but are they good at everything? How do you give energy to everything intimately?
Again, all the stuff, you know, she made a choice.
She made a choice.
She chose that.
She was weirdly and rarely honest about that choice. Like, and I think that is more what makes her unusual, is that most of the time people delude themselves by making it seem they don't make a choice. But
no, she said yes. And that was, it felt very harsh.
Yeah.
But like you talked about before, we've got to put that truth out there. And that is the truth. And Olga and Prieto had Abuelita, they had their Tia Lola, like they have this family. And when they realize what they have and what they lost, they still have a lot. Like, it's still, you know, you're going to mourn that. You're going to miss that relationship you didn't have with your mother, but they had other mother figures in their lives that stepped in to fill that gap for them. So they would not have had the same relationship with their grandmother or with their aunt if their mom had been
and
present.
They wouldn't have been the same people. I think that it's like, you know, I don't know. I think that there's our complications are what make us us. And to some extent, my next book, I've been told, is a very plot-driven book, and this is more of a character-driven book. But like, I really wanted to show that, like, we are the sum of our experiences, right? And like, and for all the things that Blanca lacked, like, they had other strengths that they pulled from other people, and that, you know, we are communal people in some respects, and that's like an important thing. We're informed by so many people and experiences and family members, and that is and that's beautiful, because nobody has to be quite perfect. Like, you have lots of other places to fill in the gaps, like, which is nice.
It definitely. And as a mother, it does always make me feel better to see, like, nobody's really doing this great or perfectly. It's not, it is an imperfect art.
but even when a character knows that they're failing, what's heartening and what makes them heroic, I think, is that they keep trying. They keep trying. They keep trying.
Yes.
They keep trying. They don't give up, even though maybe they should at some point. But they just keep trying, and that's I mean, that's what we want. That's what we wish we would do. That we would persevere. That we just keep going. And I mean, just got to keep going, right? And that's. I mean, Manny Ramirez said that, but I'll say, you know, Beckett. We'll go with Beckett, you know, you just got to keep going.
So Xochitl, is that mommy would sign her letters?
Palante,
and is that what that means? Just
always keep going. Yes. Yeah. And that's how and that was the Young Lord slogan. So that's but that was how mommy would always sign her letters. Yeah.
Well, I think that we can't keep going, unfortunately, as much as I would love to keep hanging out with you two. And I feel like you two are going to you're going to find each other again and keep your conversations going. It is like a love connection here in a writerly, wonderful way. And I'm excited I got to be a part of that.
And I just saw my wonderful teacher, Kevin Brockmeyer, is here.
Yes.
He's wonderful.
Yes. The world is so small, and I love it. Kevin is I also know Kevin in real life. So audience, thank you so much to Stewart and Xochitl for spending this time with us. Thank you all for spending this time with us. The Six Bridges Book Festival continues throughout the week with both virtual and in-person events. We hope that you will participate in them. Get your books, either come see me at Wordsworth or go online and get your copies of the books. And the accolades are rolling in. I hope, Stewart and Xochitl, that you're looking at the chat, because people are saying thank you, have a good evening, and all kinds of lovely things to you. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ginger. Thank you,
Thank
Felicia.
you so much, Ginger, and thank you,
Thank you,
Stewart.
Stephen.
Oh yes, gracias, Esteban. Yes, you all made my job so easy. It just was.
There he is.
There he is.
There's the man.
Steve. All
Thanks,
right,
everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Bye.
Good night.
Peace.
Bye.